Hello, my name is Keith, and this is a tutorial on how to stream data through Infor ION to an AWS Kinesis stream. Infor ION, otherwise known as Infor's Intelligent Open Network, is an enterprise application integration platform. It is made to interface data to and from itself, from other systems. Amazon AWS Kinesis is a data streaming tool. You can connect to a Kinesis data stream from ION. And as the diagram shows below, a system A can send data to Infor OS in a myriad of ways, and we've covered that in other videos. And Infor OS, then via a document flow or a data flow, can accept that data, optionally transform that data, and then send it on to a Kinesis stream. Once in Kinesis, the AWS platform can take it and send it on to many different destinations that AWS supports. Why would you want to do this? Well, a lot of people need to get data out of the Infor cloud and into their own Amazon account. And from there, they need to transform it or store a copy or send it on to another destination. And often this needs to be done in mass and very quickly, and a Kinesis data stream is a perfect tool for doing that. So in our example in this tutorial, we're going to send data through ION to an Amazon S3 bucket. That's Amazon's big data storage tool and one of the supported destinations for Kinesis data. So we're going to go through 3 steps. We're going to configure AWS for receiving the data. We're then going to configure a streaming connection point in ION desk to connect to that Kinesis stream that we set up in step 1. And then we're going to configure a data flow in ION desk to use that streaming connection point. So let's take a look at how this is done. Now, there are many tutorials out on the internet on how to configure Kinesis. So I'm going to go through this quite fast in order to not replicate all the information that's already out there. But the first thing you'll have to do is create a Kinesis data stream. You can see I've created one here. I've called it Infor OS. And I've basically just taken all of the standard, the default configuration options for that data stream. I've done nothing special here. After you create the data stream, you need a delivery stream. That's telling the Kinesis stream where to put the data once it comes in. And so I've created a delivery stream called deliver to an S3 bucket. And I have not done anything special here, taken all the defaults. When I click the create delivery stream button here, I've taken all the defaults. And then I've set the destination to be an Amazon S3 bucket called bucket for Kinesis. And so then the last step is to actually go create that bucket. I created it here in Amazon S3 called bucket for Kinesis, and you can see the bucket is empty. There's no data stored in it right here. I've also taken all the defaults here. I've done nothing special in setting up this bucket. The one special thing you have to keep in mind is permissions in AWS IAM. Some permissions will be created for you when you create these objects, the 3 objects that I just talked about, but one won't be, and that is a user that has access to this Kinesis data stream. So I created a user called OS Kinesis, and I've given him a security policy called access to Kinesis stream. So it's a manually created policy, and I've given him write access to my Kinesis stream that I created in the first step. Here's the JSON that I used, and I'll share this JSON for this policy in the notes of this video. But note that I could give it all sorts of access to Kinesis. I chose to limit it to very restricted access. These 3 actions are all I gave this policy so that someone could use this for maybe nefarious reasons and do other types of actions on my Kinesis stream. I tried to limit it just to what is needed. Okay, that is the basic setup in Amazon AWS. Now, into ION desk. Here, ION desk is the application, the administrative application that we use to do things in ION. The first thing I'm going to do is go to connection points, create a connection point of type stream. I've given it a name. a logical ID, and I've given the region, the stream name. This is the data stream, Kinesis data stream, and then the access key and secret key for that user that I manually created back here in the IAM console. Okay, that is the user that I'm using here, the user that has access to PutRecords in the Kinesis stream. And then secondly, I chose the documents that I'm going to allow to be sent to this Kinesis stream. Keep in mind that right now it's only outbound access to Kinesis streams. I can only write to Kinesis stream, that I cannot receive documents from a Kinesis stream in ION. So when I specify these here, I'm only sending data. I'm sending these types of objects to the stream. Once I've got that saved, that connection point set up, and by the way, you can hit the test button here and make sure that your setup is correct. The next step is to go into do connect data flows, and I've chosen to create a data lake flow. You could have done a document flow as well, but just as an example, I've got an existing data lake flow that's picking up data from an on-premise file share via our enterprise connector, and then dropping it into the data lake. But let's say that I also, as a second destination besides the data lake, I want to send it to a Kinesis stream. In that case, I would drop a parallel branch step here, drag the data lake step over to one of those branches, and then drop a stream step into the other branch. Now I'm sending this data from on-premise to two different places. In that stream step, I just select my connection point that I created just previously, and I can call this Kinesis if I want. And then I save this, power it on, and I'm ready to go. So let's take a look at how this might work. I've got on my on-premise desktop, I've got this little dummy generic application that's going to create some customer data for me. It's going to output it in this ND JSON format. So I can hit generate. It's going to drop it out to a shared folder. You can see that ION was watching and already picked it up and deleted the file. That was this step right here. It is now processing it and sending one copy to the data lake and the other copy to Kinesis. So I'll make my browser a little bigger. I'll go to the ION desk that I've gone through in the last hour. You can see I've been sending a few of these JSON documents for testing. Let's look at the last one that has come through. The last one to come through was at 5:46 p.m. and you can see right now I'm at 5:47, so that must have been the one I just sent. And we can see that, yep, a message came in from that on-prem shared folder. I can take a look at the message and make sure it's what I wanted. Yep, here's my customer data in JSON format. I can see it went to the data lake. That was one of my branch steps in my data lake flow. And then it also went to Kinesis, and I can get a confirmation here that it was delivered successfully to my stream. As the last step, let's go back to my Amazon S3 bucket and refresh the status of this bucket to see if any data has appeared here. And you can see that a folder was created in my bucket called 2020, and you can control how these folders are created in the delivery stream setup in AWS. I took the defaults, so it's going to do the year, and then the month, and then the day, and then give me a folder with the data in it. Now, be aware that this isn't in JSON format. This is a base 64 encoded file. So if I want to see what's inside this file, I'll need to download it. And then I'll open that downloaded file in a local text editor. You can see that there were some header information put on this message. I got the document name as defined in ION, the message ID that was given to by ION, the from logical ID or LID, where it came from and where it went to. And then I got a value. And you can see the value is this long string of data, and you can see it was encoded with the deflate base 64. So if I copy that and then bring up some free online website and I paste that in, choose deflate and hit decompress, that's when I get the actual string of JSON, ND-JSON, that I sent in the first place. So it's important to know that when the data is dropped in the S3 bucket, it will be kind of augmented with this metadata about the message as well as compressed. This was a very brief overview. For all the details on how this streaming connector works, please go to your Infor ION Technology Connectors Administration Guide. And over on the left-hand side, this is the online version. You can select Streaming Connection Point, and it will give you all the details of this ION connector. Thanks for listening to this tutorial.